Box, we're going fishing.
We're going fishing, baby.
We gotta find something.
Pack up the car.
Oh!
This is huge.
Up throw. Oh,
What the hell?
He still finds the
That
tech
was
chase
just
off
a cute
it.
knee.
Stop.
No,
He's
tech.
got the
No,
tech.
it's the perfect DI to get the tech. Hang on. Just kill him already.
Oh, the soft hit.
Let's do it.
Back air.
Who is he? Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Welcome to Fourside Fights, featuring Jakespeare, Spinda. Oop, I got the wrong order. PGH Carroll, Spinda, Studebacher, Hoch. Oh, God, I fucked it. It's okay. Citizens of Fourside, I'm Jakespeare, and I know the full Bloom 2024 announcement trailer is proof the Crimson Blur propaganda sells. 2, the woke moralists can't stop me from appreciating Tafo's calves and his love for his wife. Number 3, Amsa might not be able to win with the TOs rigging his brackets, but he could win if he came on Fourside Fights. Number 4, 1 year of Fourside Fights, and in this year, the community has only gotten stronger, more stable, and chiller than ever before. Let's go to each side to ask, do you agree that Fourside Fights has changed the world for the better in the last year? Let's start with Chicagoan commentator and commentary manager, bass player of the highest talent, Jakespeare. What do you think?
You know, I think we were super long overdue to have an arena for us to explicitly fight that is something outside of the game. And so it reminds me of the Salty Sweets. The same energy, the same spirit, that same like pugnacious attitude is present in these little segments. And I appreciate that.
Poster of deranged clips, artist, gambler. It's PJH Carroll. Carroll, what do you think? Did we save the world?
Well, I thought you were going to talk about Stude. Yeah, I think so. 2023, this whole year has been great, and I was trying to figure it out in my head, but I think you're onto something. I think it is this here right here.
Only good things have happened. Yeah. Next up, it's the Barlucci legend, Lod Slayer, your favorite commentator's favorite commentator, Spinda.
Oh, I love Fourside Fights. It has totally changed the game. I'm excited for what it has in the future because I love arguing with people, especially with my melee opinions.
Mm-hmm. And finally, Samox just found out about this up-and-coming commentator. It's Studebacher Hoch.
Look, listen, all I think is that anything that gets the world to appreciate more post-Wednesday Chroma is a good world to be in. And here we are.
Yeah, if you duck and cover, you'll find that Chrome is always right behind you.
Can I say something really quick? If Samox doesn't have Stude to be the narrator of the third doc, he majorly fucked up. I'm just going to say that right now.
We talked about this. We both went out for it, and then he hired some guy.
He's hired that dude. I don't know that dude.
Some guy no one knows.
Well, have you considered that some guy did a really good job?
He did.
Welcome to Fourside Fights. We've got 4 outstanding guests today who are going to act as pundits as I throw topic after topic at them. They'll give their takes. If they're entertaining or interesting, I'll give them points. If they're boring, repetitive, or patently unreasonable, I'll subtract points. And of course, I can mute any contestant at any time for any reason. The player with the most points at the end is our winner. They get to commentate as the 3 losers take it to Fourside in a free-for-all so we can see exactly how their punditry translates to melee. Let's get started with our first topic, Riptide. Once again, Plup and Wizrobe have emerged from their inactivity chambers and squashed all newcomers like the Mickey Mouse top players we always suspected they were. Are they on a different level? How would they stack up against the current top 5? And was Zane dodging Plup and Wizrobe? Let's start with Studebacher Hoch.
I'll be honest, if you didn't feel something deep in yourself watching that grand finals reset, there's no real hope for you as a person. I think that Plup and Wizzy are definitely on a different level. I just think that we forget so often about how good Melee can really get. I think that Zane's there. I think that Cody's there. I think that several others are on their way there. But those two just come down from the mountain like the Wiz and Sages they are, smoking Hobbit and pipeweed and having a great time.
Oh, no, it's...
From the South Farthington. No, they are on that shit, though. They're Wizzy especially... But Plup, to another certain degree, are both such sleepers in terms of their like how out there they get, their brand, their presence in both tournaments and online. Like they just kind of show out of nowhere, like Stude said, and they just win, and they win exactly the way you expect them to. almost every time. They're really consistent. And I think that's like wildly impressive.
Anybody
are who
go
we
ahead?
thought they were. Absolutely. Riptide, as a tournament, there's been a lot of like talk if it's a major, these people aren't here, these people are here. But Fluff and Wizzy effortlessly just showing up and getting 1-2 shouldn't be a surprise because I feel like they are in the mix of that top echelon of like 4 players. And they just, I mean, Thursday, everyone just said, oh, Pluff's going to Riptide. Pluff's winning Riptide. Almost like sentence to sentence.
Is Zane dodging them? Zane drops out of the tournaments. None of you have addressed the allegations. Spinda, what do you think?
I think there's some serious recency bias going on right now because it's like y'all are forgetting how crazy Zane and Cody's sets are, and they are usually always in the top 2 of every single major. Like every single summer major, it was Zane and Cody. Obviously, Plup and Wizrobe have gone to the 2 tournaments where they don't show up, and, you know, Plup and Wizzy can beat the other top players. Like, Plup plays Sheik and destroys, like, Axe and Amsa, right? And Wizzy, he's always been so good at just disappearing and then coming back and just beating everybody. But they don't really have the data against the current top 5. I really can't say with confidence that Plup and Wizzy are on that level because Zane and Cody play an entirely different game. And watching them, it's literally like you're watching 2 titans clash with each other. Plup and Wizzy, it's a little bit different. It doesn't really feel like that. It feels a step below.
You've just given me this vision that we have all these Zane and Cody grand finals, and we have now these couple Plup and Wizrobe grand finals. Are these pairs of 2 on a collision course?
I think honestly, they both slightly age out of the god realm. Like they're just a little too young. But if they were in that age in that time, if they played Melee at that level, I think they would be considered. Both of them would be considered.
Plup and Wizrobe?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
They had plenty of time to beat the gods. They didn't.
Wizzy had his moments.
Plup almost rounded the horn on being a God's player.
Plup got close.
That's what I'm saying.
Most recently,
before.
Wizzy had his moments, in my opinion. Like, remember he beat Zane in like the Slippy, what was it called? Like the Slippy Ludwig Invitational thing. He was the only one.
Ludwig Championship Series 1 through 4.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I don't remember the name of the tournament.
Number.
I just remember Wizrobe beating Zane when he was clearly unstoppable.
Yeah, and he had HBox's number for a minute there. Still probably does. Yeah, like for real.
And yet he's 0-24 against Mango and Lan.
Listen, also Plup, and look what happened. It's bound to happen. It's almost there.
I will say, I don't think Zane is dodging. No one that can bring a pillow to a tournament can be declared a coward. It takes a certain type of bravery.
Right. And I don't think anyone's dodging too, because when I talked to Moki at Riptide, he specifically said, I am here to fight these 2 specifically. I don't care how I get there, but I'm going to play these 2. And when I asked Moki, he's like, okay, how do you feel about being top dog now? Everyone dropped out. He's like, no. He didn't have any thoughts on that. He was like, I'm here to fight Plup and Wizzy. And he did that.
That's right.
Well,
Let's move on to our next topic. Cody was electric at Shine, beating Moist Mogul's Zane while rocking the Eggdog merch. Now Eggdog Wizrobe has robbed Moki of his first major win at Riptide. To add insult to injury, Eggdog's ownership are openly taunting Ludwig's squad while signing Plup, B-Bats, and many more to short-term contracts. Aiden Calvin is demanding that Eggdog post-player salaries or log off, unquote. Do we have a new benevolent overlord in the scene, or can the Yard Boys rally to defeat Eggdog?
That's what we're talking about. This is where Fourside Fights has gone. We're talking about fucking Eggdog. Okay, let me tell you about Eggdog.
Talking about Eggdog like every month. They keep sponsoring players. Do you want players to go to your tournaments?
And you might as well have the little Eggdog himself in squares. You talk about.
I tried. He did not answer in time.
I mean,
he has a dentist. He has an appointment today at 6:30 Pacific time.
Look, these sponsors are like the ice climbers of deals. They show up randomly every year, about 1, maybe 2, and they do some inexplicably random shit. Maybe there's going to be an Eggdog major that takes place in the Colosseum in Rome for all. And then after that, it's just all the short-term contracts will lay out. We're all gonna have a good laugh, and Moist Mogul will obviously still be going. So I think they should take their licks while they can, because this is definitely a solid moment for them, and I respect that they're kind of going for the top. So I'm all about Eggdog.
Yeah. Anybody else thoughts on this new strategy of sponsoring players one event at a time rather than an extended contract?
I think that in the post crypto, outside of Coinbox, of course, post crypto, post esports boom kind of economy we found ourselves in, it's kind of necessary to have someone stepping in as a little angel investor, have a little Moist Moguls on one shoulder, Eggdog on the other. I think that really the only way some of these players are getting to these events is through companies like this. There's little money in this scene. We might as well be thankful for what we're getting. Do I think they've got staying power? Building a brand's a whole other thing. I really don't know. Like Jake said, I've seen them come and go. Like the tide comes and goes with the moon. That's all I've got.
We've mentioned them every episode for 3 episodes in a row, and now they're retweeting our stuff. So this is what narrative building looks like, Binda, what do you think?
I kind of think what everyone else is saying, like short-term sponsorships, just being from the Midwest, I've seen that a lot. I've seen organizations do that. I've never seen them build a brand the way Eggdog is doing. I feel like Moist Moguls does not need to get their panties in a bunch over it, though, because they're like long-term sponsors. They shouldn't feel threatened by like these short-term sponsorships for these people trying to build a brand, especially because these long-term sponsors usually have to set a budget at the beginning of the year, whereas Eggdog, if they have the money, they can basically sponsor whoever they want. Not to get like technical about it, but if your small short-term organization is dunking on a really big-time org like Moist Moguls, might as well, get your licks in while you can.
Okay. Carroll, final thoughts?
My only thought on Eggdog is it's one of the most recent forms of money laundering that we've had in this scene in a while.
So true, bestie.
It's very soon. They're just going to sponsor Mewtwo King and get him all wrapped up in this. And then as far as just sponsoring anyone and everybody, it kind of like loses its like luster after a while, because just, hey, have you getting sponsored by Eggdog yet? No, but maybe next week. Oh, have you? Are you wearing that ugly hoodie? I am.
Ugly.
It's medium. It's medium at best.
Yeah. Okay,
I'm
that's
interested
fine.
in like.
I don't know.
There is
It's a little bit ugly.
something that you've invoked here that is not really on the topic list, but I just want to throw it out there. I'm seeing M2K in the chat all over the place during Riptide. I'm seeing Armada restreaming with Cody and saying B-Bats, cheering. Are these folks just like not getting the numbers they need to see, and so they dip their little toes back in Melee land every once in a while and see what it's like to be get the fans going again?
That's
What's going
awfully
on?
mean. That's awfully mean, Jack. I think that in their benevolence, they recognize that Melee's in a rough spot and are using they still have pull, right? Like if Armada says something about Melee, we're still gonna listen to it. If Music King says something about Melee, it's probably a tournament.
Do you think Armada is in a better place right now than Melee is, and he's lending us some of his success to help us in these troubling
he just
times?
doesn't want to work at McDonald's, bro. He just doesn't want to have to get a job at McDonald's or something. He's still Armada. He wants that attention too,
His whole family can work a whole McDonald's. That'd be so great.
Oh my god!
I did jump into a stream of his where he was playing Mario as you do if you're Armada, and he was talking taxes with one guy in chat, and it was just like a 30-minute conversations on different tax like setups, and I was like, you know what? My king is living his best life. Let's move on to our next topic. The off-season 2 approaches. While we don't know everything that Optic Hitch and the squad are cooking up this year, we should expect some band stages and some slimed casters, all for charity. It makes me miss Smash the Record, 5 Days of Melee, some good, clean Mute City fun. However, due to this, the main part of this event will not count for rankings, right? Maybe the final run of the bracket. You're shaking your head? Should more tournaments aim for the charity angle to justify doing weird shit? That's the question. Carroll, but you can talk about whatever you want.
It's still Melee, and if you ask me, the off-season last year was the most entertaining tournament that we had all year straight up. I really think you should get on the horn with them right now and suggest Fourside as the official donation incentive, maybe make it a little higher, have like something semi-competitive for like a lower bar, and then if they really want to dump the money, you know, go into Fourside. But yeah, no, for it not counting on rankings, I think is it's still Melee. It still tests like, you throw two really good players on one of those weird stages, and it's still just refreshing and still a test of like,
Yeah.
I'm prone to disagree. I think that offseason was an incredibly clown shoes event. It was run with a lot of love, but the circus came into town when Mute City came on. Axe got a lot of fun sets up there playing on Mute City. I think that the fact that it took about 8 hours to cut down the bracket in half due to waterfall style is a bigger question. Why is it taking us the whole damn day for folks to play 17 sets and then lose to me who went and played 3? It's a little bit silly, and I'm honking my nose at it.
I think I kind of agree with both of them. I think that it could work. Either go all the way one way, or either be a legit tournament that counts, or just be this exhibition like clown shoes. It could be our all-star game if we like approach it the certain way. If we just like invite people with all the money and get them to do silly games with all the money, and maybe also have an exhibition bracket or something. I think it could be something that is like really celebrated for its levity instead of its seriousness.
Mm. So you think that there's no room for this? Is making me a little nervous about the Fourside regional. I'm like, so you're saying we have to do full serious or full joking around? We can't.
No,
but the key is that off season they're mixing them in the same bracket, right?
Right.
Okay.
I think it shouldn't count for rankings. Like, obviously, I've been in different regions where they play Unfrozen Stadium, they play Frozen Stadium, and I think all those should count for rankings. When it comes to off-season, when you start introducing stages that were banned because of how polarizing they were for certain matchups, like Mute City, broken stage for Peach, broken stage for Puff, we just should not count that. It's like if randomly we had one tournament where wobbling was legal, and like you could wobble like one time a set. Like it's that type of weird specific rule set change that I'm not really down with. And that kind of screwed some people over last ranking season too. By counting the off season.
What if that wobbling rule is initiated because we do let's just say hypothetically speaking, like an online voting situation where people spend a lot of money to allow one wobble per set? Then can it be legal?
It could be okay, yeah, do that, but I mean, just shouldn't count for rankings. I would love to see a tournament where wobbling was legal once a set.
Okay, we'll see. This is now making me existentially nervous.
No, trust your gut, because listen, even when those stages were banned for polarizing playstyles, those were the polarizing playstyles of 2006 and 7 and 8. I feel like there's so much new technology and there's so much new meta that's come out of it, so it's not going to be exactly the same. And I love to peek into it.
I like where your mind's at right now.
You don't think that they're going to camp even harder than they used to back in the day?
The new meta is doubly campy.
The people that will want to camp and the people that like hate the stage and they will want to camp won't do that good on it out of their like distaste for Melee. They don't even like Melee in general. You know what I mean? So
can you CC an F-Zero car?
Yes. Probably the first.
You can?
Depends on your character.
I think it'll be good. Yeah. At 0. Yeah, maybe at 0.
Like Falco probably can.
So we need something to disrupt reaction text chasing, and those cars are perfect.
That'll do it.
Now you're speaking.
That's why Ken won that MLG though.
Let's just keep talking about fun Melee.
Because everybody, when they see a fence, their first thought is, well, that fence is probably there for a reason. And you're saying that fence is old.
Right.
We got to find out if we need a new fence. I like this. Right. Let's move on to our next topic. In somber news, BBB finds himself indefinitely banned from appearing at any Twitch-related event or Twitch-streamed event for, in his words, quote, feeling like the king of pop, unquote, and in British words, driving on the telly. Amazingly, some Smashers felt the need to snitch on themselves by regaling their Twitter audiences with the times they've narrowly avoided picking up driving under the influences. Karma's copied. Pundits, what is the worst Smash carpool you've been in or heard of? Please keep in mind we do not yet have diplomatic immunity on this show.
I have to think about it for a second, honestly. Been in so many carpools.
I'll say it, man. I have not been in any bad carpools. I cultivate carefully. I I do not fuck with people that I would not drive with. If I cannot be in a room with you for longer than 3 hours, I'm not going to get in a car with you for one. Shouts to everybody I've ever ridden with, especially the cursed carpool of Riptide 2023 that almost ended in disaster.
that actually, does that count? Does that count as the worst carpool?
Yeah,
because
tell
of
me
the
about it.
circumstances, not the people, but the
That's
circumstances.
not even a bad carpool. We had a 4.5 drive, 4.5 hour drive from Chicago to Ohio. Wonderful. Great time. We talked about Tolkien for like 3 hours. And it was wonderful. And then the next round, coming back out after the weekend, we hit a quick reverse into full stop, into not being able to change over the gears. And then I had myself basically a RuneScape adventure in beautiful Sandusky, Ohio, where I had to go fetch gas and get my walking up to 99. It was awesome. But man, fuck Sandusky, Ohio. I'll say it again.
Gas didn't work. Okay, we tried to jump it. We got jumper cables. Jumper cables didn't work. So we had to get the truck towed from Sandusky, Ohio to Chicago. Not on my dime, thank God. And then here's the best part. I was reimbursed, but here's the best part. The homie tried to get me to pay for the gas with the fakest receipt. I showed Studebaker, and
it's so bad.
The most
so
photoshopped fucking $6 a gallon, like fake, too much gas, like
post the Sclusy in general. Post the Sclusy in general.
That has to be
as bad.
I'm trying to get skamazed by fucking Turo. That's my life right now.
It's a $73 tank of gas for a 10 gallon.
The worst carpools you've been a part of.
Well, I wanted to jump in when Dude said, "Oh, did you say Spinder or Carroll?"
I said either, and then I wanted to see you fight over who gets to talk first.
Well, I'll just since I'm hot, Stu's like, you know what? I've never really been a part of a bad carpool. That's new age player stuff, because back in the day, you loved Melee so much that you got in a car with just about anybody. It didn't matter if they had a license or not. Some of the worst car experiences are anytime like Mewtwo King just finds his way in your car because he just doesn't sit in a regular seat. He'll curl up in a little ball, little egg dog or whatever. You know what I mean? And just make himself a tent. And it's just like you don't hear anything. You think that Mewtwo King's in my car. We're gonna talk about Melee. No, he just is in his own little tent, and then every 45 minutes he's like, hungry. Yeah. Bathroom.
I did learn to play Melee professionally after I learned how to drive, so that's probably a big changeover for me. That's true.
Yeah, true.
Spinder, worst carpool?
So there's two different ones, but I'm gonna focus on the one. We used to carpool with Boyd, the Ice Climbers player. A lot of us new kids in Northeast Ohio, we would stick together. And I can't talk about what we talked about in the Boyd car, because what happens in the Boyd car stays in the Boyd car. But there was one time we got pulled over by a cop.
10 points for dropping a Sclusy.
I can't.
10 points.
Okay, there was one time where we all went around the car and said the worst thing that had happened to us in our lives. And that was definitely a very interesting car ride for
bonding, yeah.
It was like 4 hours into the car ride. I think we were going to Chicago or something. But there was one where we were driving, we got pulled over, and we were going to Cincinnati, and it was winter. And you know what? It was fine. He just let us off with a warning or whatever. But then we realized, after this grueling car ride where we got pulled over and it was stressful, we get to the venue and we're like, oh, it's 30 degrees in this venue, and we just drove however many hours to this tournament we're not going to be able to play because our hands are so cold. That has to be the worst car ride ever, just because of the outcome. It was completely not worth it.
Very true. For me, I don't think I have a worse carpool, but I drove the Bloomington crew 5 hours or whatever from southern Indiana to Detroit or then it was Ann Arbor, I think, or Dearborn for Big House. And I swear to God, I genuinely believe Mango saved my life, because we were so tired. And if he had not won that Big House, I think it must have been 6. Or 7. If he hadn't won, I would have died on the way home. And so thank you to Mango.
So you stayed because he won, is what you're saying?
No, it re-energized us. Everybody was talking in the car. They were all popping and being lively when they otherwise would have been inside. And I've seen that happen too.
I got a Neo shout out, just thinking of bad car rides. Anyone who knows old Northeast Ohio knows a player named Dempt. and Demps had the worst car on the planet. And I
Yeah,
believe
he
one
did.
time, you know, the old like go to a tournament, be there one day, be there all day, leave at like 12 and get home at like 3. Just like using like in the winter, having the windows down to keep you awake, and then blasting that Ellie Goulding Lights song, and it's just forever ruined in my life. And you know, I just
So true.
somehow
Windows down to the
alive.
winter to stay awake is so goddamn real.
All right. Well, that was chummy. Let's move back to the good stuff. The retired pundit class, Blur, Tafokins, Aiden Calvin, etc., are all talking shit about how Melee commentary can't form narratives like Daddy Scar did back in the day. Aiden will once again catch strays on this show for saying all it takes is basic social skills to be a great commentator. Is it true? Do we suck at this commentary stuff? And why aren't the boomers watching Fourside Fights if they want to know what's up?
Listen, one of the things I do when I do these commentaries on like a Sunday for the big day, I get to the venue early. I have my notebook. I write down who's playing who they beat to get there, all the stuff I need, all the stats. And this year at Riptide, I sat down where the hotel spills into the venue. Everybody has to walk past me to get to the venue. So I pulled everybody aside. And let me tell you, when I got nothing from these people, I took nothing. Ben had his 21st birthday and was drinking all night. And literally, like, you couldn't have told me that. You gave me nothing. He said, he looked at it and was like, yeah, I play Axe. I don't know. I just got to get to the venue.
Wait a minute. Your contention is it's the player's fault for you not making
No.
narratives about them?
For
That's been
sure.
the problem the whole time.
No,
not
but
new.
you at least gotta. We always get crap from players where like, oh, we're making up a story, and I want to give you the, I want to get the truth out there for it. Whatever your truth is, I want to get it out for you.
Yeah.
Now we'll make it up for you as we do. You know what I mean? But I just like to give a little bit of the player's input, you know what I mean, to kind of.
I think you give them a chance to consent and then ditch them. Jakespeare, what do you got?
Right.
This might sound weird and this might not make any sense, but you don't have to tell the narrative to make a good story. Because there's so much more. Like by the narrative, you must mean this player's results in tournament, how this player plays, how they stack up against other. There's so much more to this human being than them as a Melee player. And I think commentators are like, there's so many fucking commentators. Like everyone in this call is a commentator, and there's like 7 more on deck, on standby, and another 30 more behind them. My point is, there's more than enough of us to spread the weight of what makes a narrative. And that's their history, their timeline is a small part of that. Them as a person. So let me push back on you.
Yes. I think people who are doing top 8 commentary are who these critics are talking about, because 90% of the Melee viewership happens during top 8 commentary, and that is not 30 commentators. That's maybe 10 or 15 over the year.
Fair.
What's their obligation? You did top 4, 8-4 with Stude. What was your obligation to the narrative?
Our obligation to the narrative was, I think, a little more insular in that it was about Riptide itself. I think the main through line for this was that Zane and Cody were not there. And I think that's kind of a shame that was the most exciting part of it, was the absence of these players. But all of these top 50 people duking it out, that was the point of Rip. That was the point of that tournament. That was the point of that bracket. And then there was Wizzy and Plup, right? But the meat of it was relative to the tournament itself, and it was exciting that way. It was very exciting if you just kept it in that little nucleus. And so you don't have to look into the future and extend all the way into the past all the time. It's helpful, but you are looking at the Melee right there, sitting in the seat in the Kalahari Resort. What does that mean? That's what you need to get to across to other people. That to me is more important.
Dude, what do you think?
Honestly, I think that people, they've got these rose-colored glasses about how narratives are constructed when Scar hasn't consistently gone to a tournament for, probably the last 6 years or so. He'll make his appearances now and again. I think the real issue comes from the fact that we have a more rotating cast of characters in these top 8s than probably ever before. A lot of the time, the top 5 isn't even in attendance all the way through. If you're going to get the top 10, good luck. I think that everybody's more vulnerable, the storylines are shifting, and we don't really have these new players coming out consistently enough and placing top 8 consistently enough to be able to build those narratives around them. You know, it's like Carroll said, some of them are less social, perhaps because they just don't travel enough. I mean, Ben goes to Midwest things, he goes to the odd event now and again, but this was his first top 8. This was BBAT's first big top 8. Acklo's a really quiet guy. He's really cool, though. I think that generally it just comes from the fact that it's easy to look back and say, wow, I really remember Genesis 4 or the Big House 10 or the Big House 6, but do they remember all of the smaller tournaments in between in their commentary? Or is it really just the fact that Scar is super good at weaving narratives? He's just the best of us at that.
Binda, what do you think?
So I think something I've noticed personally is I would struggle to commentate a top 8 because I don't know the players as well, and I haven't watched their come up the same way I have watched players like Ben and BBATs come up, just because I'm a more active competitor these days. People like Scar and Toph and all these older commentators they have every Melee moment, every top Melee moment in history. They were the voice of it. They got to watch the come up of these players from their very beginnings, like Axe, Amsa, Mango. Like Scar literally loves Mango to death. They're like brothers pretty much. So,
After he hated him.
After he hated him, yes, of course.
Just like brothers.
Also, I think there is a reluctance from the general Melee community to accept new commentators and what they want to bring to the table, because we don't...
Preach that shit.
It's so hard to cut out your niche and be really unique, because you have to be good at so many things. Like, when I try to commentate, I think about who I'm commentating with, what they're good at. I try to assess my own strengths and weaknesses and try to just work off of that. I don't think people realize how hard it is unless you are sitting in that seat trying to do that. Like, I commentated with, 4 or 5 different people this weekend, and my level of, synergy with them really varied, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes I'm talking too much, sometimes I say something that people are going to nitpick. That's where, commentary's at now. I think just the overall community has to be a lot more accepting of the changes.
I do think it's interesting that when you think of well, go ahead, Carroll.
I think we also go through waves of what we think is good commentary and what the general audience wants. Because think about after the doc or after a big event, Evo or something, where so many new players are coming into the game, and what they really value is, if I'm going to watch this, I want to learn something, and I want these commentators to be very technically sound and tell me this works because of this and this button and this and that. And now we're getting a little away from that, and we haven't had a huge event that brought a lot of new players in. Maybe Slippy is the one, but even that's starting to be a couple years later. So now we're getting back to, well, we really want stories now, because we know how to do this and do that and why this matchup is good. So we go through these waves of what we want based on, what we're trying to appeal to. And I mean, that's basic for anybody, but yeah.
I think that's a really good point. I like there's a pendulum that swings between the narrative kind of style commentary and then anti-narrative commentary and then analytical. And I sometimes they exist at the same time, but I think of Homemade Waffles and Phil as very anti-narrative commentators. They kind of exist as in contrast to a old school Scar and Toph, and both of them are good, but they kind of create this flow where you want a mix of both, or you'll go a little crazy. But I do kind of, so I don't know, these boomers, I'm mad at them for not paying attention and then complaining about the game. But I also think they are right that us, the people who are doing commentary now, need to take bigger risks. And that is why I have you all in Fourside Fights, to teach you how to hot take and give you points so you know when you're doing it good. All right, moving on to our next topic. Riptide controversy. Content creators and players alike took to Twitter to grumble about falling for the TO's insidious plot to force them to pay $2 per mask at the event, or $7 per 10. Many have pushed back on this narrative, pointing out that you had to acknowledge the mask policy while signing up. Smashers cannot be this broke, and that friend of the show, Spark, did not understand what the word insidious meant. What's your take here? And does this prove that nobody can do it quite like turn up the AC so people buy my sweatshirts juggle guy?
I'll be real. I think Smashers are possibly the worst people when it comes to either reading the fine print or understanding basic concepts. Being able to deep dive in and check a box that says, "Hey, by the way, this is a mask only event," is pretty damn simple. if you're going to an airport and you're not wearing a mask, I get it. You know, it's 3 years in. But you should probably pack that shit. And if you're a TO, reaping a few extra dollars off the backs of people that can't read the text underneath, that's good for you. Add it to the pile of millions in the back.
Well, staff got free masks, so I'm a little exempt.
Oh,
from the conversation.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
However, this is from Riptide, by the way. However,
Riptide TM mask.
I was a little. I was stricken dumb when I found out it was $2. Though I found it at the desk. I was like, "Oh, can I get a mask?" And they're like $2, and I'm like, "I'm staff." And she's like, "Okay, go ahead, take it." And then the rest was easy. But I think $1 would have sufficed. Honestly, I think $2. Like that's honestly what makes it like kind of okay to like pretty not okay is that $1 difference. I honestly believe that.
You just decide what prices are like fair. You just decide on a vibe.
I mean, $1 is a totally good price for a mask, and $2 is a little too much for a mask. I think that's. Does anyone disagree with that here?
Jackson,
For this mask, for this fucking this thing.
Yeah,
It's more that I don't know how much they spent on it, and they probably set the price based on how to pay for the masks that would not be sold.
Interesting. Do you deny there's markup?
So you
Got it. Do you deny there's markup?
How much profit do you think are Carroll? I think you might be
Cutting
muted.
you off. I'm so sorry. When my thoughts come to me, I was just about to say, I'm glad that staff and people working the event got free masks because I bought a pack for $10, and just gave them to I got my like 2 that I'll probably need, and I gave the rest to anyone who was asking for them. But side note, here's an idea: we should have the top seeds of our tournaments at our mask events sign masks straight up, and then it could be a fun thing. Hey, I got a mango mask.
That's
I got a hungry ball mask in my pocket because
All right, Jake, I have my economics answer, which is they priced them at $2 per mask so that you buy the 10 and give them to all your friends so that they could spread masking at under $1 per piece, 70 cents. But only if you buy enough for your friends. Spinda, what do you think?
I think it's grimy, honestly. Having to charge for masks, like, I brought my own mask. This did not affect me half the time at the tournament because I was on commentary and I did not have to wear a mask. But, like, we're at a water park. You paid God knows how much money for the after-hours water park that everyone at Riptide gets free entry to. Everyone at Riptide who is masking at the tournament gets to go into the hot tub and chug beers together and sit, like, skin to skin. Like, that's where it becomes silly. It's silly to have a mask if we're all gonna go do this thing anyway. And I'm not, like, anti-mask, anti-vax or some crazy shit. It's literally just, like, we are at a water park tournament. Everyone's going to go to the pools after they drown in pools. Like,
You think the overlap is
silly.
You think the overlap is like 90%?
Yes.
Really?
Everyone who I saw at everyone at Riptide got free entry to the after hours thing where we're all in close quarters anyway.
I think that this ignores, though, that if you don't want to do that, you could just only be going to the venue, right?
Sure, yeah, and if you need to mask up at the venue and you don't want to go do that, that's fine, but that's the majority of what happened was, like, there was a ton of overlap in it, and it didn't really matter anyway.
Yeah, water perks are gross, but yeah, Mono
yeah,
was
I get
spitting when he
sick
talked
every
about that
year.
tweet. Mono was spitting when he had that tweet out there that it was like, why are we requiring masks? But then we have our after hours makeout party at the water park.
Yeah. But those are all voluntary. Like, you guys are creating a system where it's like the whole, if 90% of people want something, then 10% that don't want to, like, be exposed to that. Like, would both of you recommend that we don't do masks at events because there's this 90% overlap in people?
I just think that it's a little, not necessarily hypocritical, but it's a bit nonsense to say, like, we should mask at our event, but then offer free maskless events. Like, you're not going to have people requiring it at the water park.
Masks.
I didn't go to the water park because I think, 1, water parks are gross, and 2, I'd have to have my mask off around a bunch of people.
Yeah, and I think just the people who are really worried about it, they're going to wear masks anyway, and they're going to be more careful. They're going to avoid that stuff. Like, and that I feel like that's a much smaller number.
Okay, so we all are saying that this is an abuse of the power of Riptide. They price gouge. You guys are on Spark's
No,
side. I was not
I
expecting
think
this.
it was based. I think charging for masks was incredibly based because anything that can be done to recoup the cost of running these tournaments, which are not public utilities, mind you, is cool and good by me.
Yeah, I
don't mind that perspective. I
Hard
just kind of
agree.
view it like maybe there's like a bunch of people outside of a saltine cracker eating contest, and you're selling water bottles right outside for like $3.
That's called
or something.
tact.
I don't know.
That's being a smart business person.
Your money up, not your funny
But
up.
none of this beats Juggle Guy's sweatshirt. Campaign.
True, by the way.
All right, well, let's move on to our next topic. We've officially seen somebody win over $2 billion in a Powerball jackpot before taxes and a lump sum settlement option. Reddit immediately suggested putting it all as the pot of one tournament. Would you spend the money to make Melee the best it could be if you won the jackpot tomorrow? How would you spend that money?
I know what I would do. I would pay for all the top 500 Melee players go to driving school, and maybe for a car, so that when they can't play Melee anymore, they can go out into the real world. They can drive somewhere. They can get a job. They can drive their family places. They can go do everything else. And then I think maybe some of the top players.
Car?
What? Buy them all cars?
Am I missing what's going on?
No, I'm paying for their driving lessons, so they can all learn to drive.
This is
What's
you're
wrong with
spinning,
that?
but I am torn because of my hatred of cars. Keep going. Sorry.
Well, that's listen. I live in the Midwest. That's all we got. We don't really have public transportation.
You're right.
We live in the Midwest. We need cars. You need a car if you're there. So I would do that, and then I would teach them how to invest into random things. Like we see, like what Ludwig's bidet thing. They could do that, and they could make themselves like comfortable living for like the rest of their lives, so that they're not like stuck to Melee forever. You know what I mean? And I would probably throw in like a like what are those Fortnite?
Like you're gonna kill Melee. You're gonna teach all these players who we've tricked.
No,
to only having one skill set.
You can't play Melee forever, baby. You can't do that. You can't do that. It's not gonna happen. You can't be like 50. Like maybe if I see a 50-year-old Melee player one day who's like at the top, that's fine. But I don't think that's gonna happen. We need to get these kids into the rest of the real world.
You're killing Melee. Somebody help.
Spinda is proposing that we rehab these Melee players. I say we decriminalize and make for safe injection sites and safe use sites. I'm talking about steadily supplying tournament scenes with large scale infrastructure, healthy prize pots, full scale amateur brackets, and also investing into stronger teaching. I think that Metafy as a function is indirect, difficult, and hard to use. You don't get benefits at tournaments. I say bring the tournaments and people to you. So if you sign up for Music King's Metafy, he's actually just going to come to your house and you have to deal with him. I think that's
Teach for America, but it's Melee.
Yeah, I'm saying snort the line and make it happen.
If I won the lottery, if I had all that money, the DMs would be open, baby, but through like a publicist or something. But I would seriously allow anybody in the scene to solicit me for any amount of money as long as they sell it to me, as long as they make me laugh, as long as they make me smile, as long as my heart grows in size. You got it. Because we're talking infinite money, right? Basically. Like, I'm not giving no one $2 billion.
No, I guess $2 billion becomes $1 billion after the taxes.
But sure. But 100,000 is like a lot of fucking money for a Melee
$1 billion
tournament.
is infinite money for any
for all intents and purposes. And so I would just let it happen and see what comes of it. And you know me, I'm a harsh critic.
$1 billion is infinite money.
I mean,
so I'm
pretty
much
much
about the question because everyone seems to be like, oh, if I won this money, I'd be doing all these things for these. If I won this money, I would run an event, and these smashers would dance for me straight up. I would do the first week-long national where every single person comes, no bullshit, no Johns. You get here, Armada, all of them, just everybody gets there, and we finally do one tournament to end all tournaments. And we'll do other things. We'll have a dance battle or rap battle. We'll do everything we possibly can in this week, and it'll just be the best. And I'm not interested in, taking all this money and bettering all their lives. No, you're coming to Papa Carroll's dojo. We're gonna do it.
Okay, so you make everybody dance. You're now the king.
Absolutely.
All right,
champion.
let's
I've
move
been like, you know.
Ooh.
I've been playing.
You make him play volleyball.
I can't believe he's flexing the volleyball trophy on me. Not after this.
Excuse me, we're not champion here.
Let's go Pittsburgh.
That's 5 points.
Let's go Pittsburgh.
An old clip of Ken versus PC Chris resurfaced on Smash Twitter this week, with many onlookers stunned at the low level of play that sufficed in the MLG era for grand finals. Let's keep it real. If you found out that Golden Guardians had actually sponsored a secretly active on Slippy Azan Zaganite, how would he do at the big house? Would he beat you?
I think he'd get like 129th, honestly. I've played him though. He's not that bad. He's I think he keeps up with most people these days. Like he's up there. He's like I'd say maybe like a top 400 active melee player. So I mean, I think he'd at least make it to round 2 of pools. I think people really underestimate exactly how mentally strong these players are, because that's how they won half the shit in the early days. It was all mind games, as they said. That's really true. Like, even though Melee looked really different back then, it wasn't as developed. Like, they could still keep up. Like, I even think if Ken came back, he would easily be at least at the level that Azan is currently at.
In this hypothetical where Azan has secretly been playing Melee.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear you. Dude, would you lose to the
Secretly.
hypothetical Azan who's been secretly playing Melee?
If
Oh
he's
fuck, man!
been playing,
Then I gotta put it up, right? I mean, if he shows back up, I do have to money match him after this. I think that, given the current state of defensive play and things, if he's coming in fully off the sticks, working his part-time job, whatever he's been up to, in the interim since MLG 2004 or 2006, wherever he was last spotted, really taking the game seriously. It's been a while. If he comes off fully dry off the sticks, not touched it in a while, light stomach, not too full, not too heavy, I still think I might clear. But if he had practice, I do think that these players, like Spinda said, had a vast amount of mental fortitude, the ability to recognize situations and quickly adapt to them, even with the limited movement and lack of understanding of the Melee's finer touches. Are they going to be able to pick it up and implement it fast enough to beat, say, Ringler? Probably not. But there's a chance.
The kids are too juiced these days. Like there's just no way that they can make it past, like Spinda said, like on maybe like top 64 if they have the bracket of their life. But they're gonna run into harder opponents way earlier than they used to. Like I think just the skill difference is really that. Really, I don't think it would even be close. But you would also have to convince me that many up tilts on Yoshi's and that's is a bad play, which it's not. that shit will work today on anybody.
I think I literally have a clip of myself doing it.
Go ahead, Spinda, sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, I think I've literally done that to someone, like, and I put it in a YouTube video. I literally took inspiration from that clip and did like 10 up tilts under the side platform and killed him off of it. So that shit still works today. Like, everyone can get hit by that and die from it.
Yeah. So it's not really fair to be like, oh, this is shit gameplay, when it just looks primitive and the resolution is fucked. So it just looks like this really long, distant look into the past, where it's like really not that long ago.
Okay. Carroll, what do you think?
In that specific clip, there's no shield dropping. PC Chris was doomed. He was doomed. That is the best face that Ken could beat ever. But getting back to the Azan thing, I think you guys are kind of sleeping on a player like that. I mean, everyone's going to be like, oh, he'll be okay. So at worst, if he wasn't playing at all, he comes back and he's the frustratingly good player that you're like, okay, this shouldn't be working, but it is. You're frustrated when you play him because you think it's primitive. I live in the region of Borp, and if you've never experienced it, there's no way to tell you in words what it's like. But in the hypothetical that he has been training, and on the sticks and up with the meta, you're going to be very surprised. Because, I mean, we always talk about new kids like, oh, they get so good so fast. Yes, that's true. think about Asin, who has worlds of experience, and now all the tools of today. He's going to wash like everybody in his path, and then like fizzle out at that like at worst 33rd.
When was Asin's last tournament?
Oh man,
Like the Xanadu or something?
you're asking for Melee commentators to have player information on hand.
Calling me that.
Bull.
Stop calling me that.
You are boomer, Spinda.
I'm not
You're
just a Melee commentator.
Spinda, you're just like me. I'm not a commentator. I'm a host.
How many
Let's move on to our
Barluchis
next
have you
topic.
won?
Collision has announced for March 2024 and introduced a heroes versus villains crew battle. Some of the choices for each crew are contentious. Let's go through some of the Melee players of all time, and I want y'all to argue over whether they're a hero or a villain. Let's start at the top. Kadoran, hero or villain?
Hero. Easy hero.
Villain.
Asmarth?
Not
That
just
it?
Marth, he's a villain.
I think he's a villain because he is the evolution of like every like net play Marth. What is this music coming in right now? What is this odious jungle
Listen, he's a
beat?
villain because
I did not hear any music.
he's like the shit talker, cocky net play Marth who like, what did he say about? He said about Amsa. He was like, he lost his window to win a major, and then Amsa fucking won Big House, one of the biggest tournaments ever. Little shithead. He's a villain. Come on, you're talking shit on the Amsa. One of the best fucking
Kadoran is
fan
also,
favorites in the world.
if you if you watch the first episode of this show, he's refused to answer whether or not he supports unions. So until he returns to the show,
Whoa! Retract my answer like fucking.
He was a union
until he
man.
returns to the show.
That is a problem.
I think
That's a
think
Marth
Spinner's
main, I
got a
tell you
point. Let's
what.
move on to the next one. Jmook, hero or villain? Jmook, hero or villain?
Hero.
Hero.
Everybody's hero.
Easy, clear as a
Well,
hero. There's no
forever.
point in contesting.
Next
There's no
one.
point in
Last
contesting.
forever.
Next one.
He would have to have a serious turn. Like that is a proper face heel turn if there ever was one for this scene. If Jmook, it turns out, had been like strangling like homeless people behind like buildings at every major, that would be something that would have people defending him on Twitter still. To be like,
Think
well,
about it, yeah.
He could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, right?
and they wouldn't charge him with a crime.
And they
Yeah.
wouldn't charge him with the crime. Amsa, hero or villain?
Oh come
Hero.
on. The
Who was
are
the
the
hero?
best hero in the past 5 years.
I do think he's been sliding to villainy with his better understanding of the English language. He's been having some fun
I
with
agree.
it.
Okay, so listen.
Yep.
Amsa was the. Do you remember Amsa? That was I pray to win. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like just excited and very happy. The more he actually plays Melee in the States, the more he hates it. And all the foxes, it's getting to him. It's he's done. He's so out of here. He's gonna go back to Japan for a couple months, hide
Right.
low.
So who's the real villain? Is it
America.
Amsa or is it
Fox-
America?
Fox has always been the villain, and America's always been the
Yeah,
villain.
you're right. You're right.
Starting to turn into like a Batman figure. Maybe.
Right.
I don't know, man.
Batman.
You're telling me I can open up a history book and the good guys win every time? That's just fucking crazy.
Well, that's
Great how that
convenient.
works out.
It's a boring
That's
play, I'll
exactly
tell
how
you that.
works out.
I don't know about every time. M2K,
Ooh.
Me2 King.
If you're a
Anti-hero.
fan, he's a hero. If you
He's
know
an
him, he's a villain.
anti-hero.
Yeah. His myth is heroic.
Mhm.
The myth of M2K is heroic.
He's
for
a
sure.
villain. He's a villain. Okay, he's DM'd everyone in the Melee community is fucking Metafy, even me. And like, who was I when he sent me that DM? I was literally nobody. Why are you sending me your Metafy, bro? What's
Should
going
set up
on
the
there?
frame perfect series is all I'm saying, Spinda. That's
Moki.
Hero.
Anti-hero. Definitely anti-hero. Not
Yeah,
pure
he's
hero.
he's
no
definitely
shot.
like a Shadow the Hedgehog.
He's
Uh-huh.
like Batman, where like he's definitely doing something wrong to these poor criminals, but I can't help but enjoy watching. Like
He's
the way
making
that
his
he
pocket
treats
jerk off
mid-tier
on them.
is
He's
beautiful.
devious, bro. You can't call a hero devious. That man's devious.
Mm. So as long as he does the shield thing against people we also don't like, he's a hero. I see.
I thought it was hysterical, and I like Ben. So.
I mean,
There's
yeah.
taunts. They're villainous.
if you're jacking off in top 8, you're having a good one. That's all I'm saying.
Aklo.
Aklo?
That's tough.
Aklo's a hero to me, man. Aklo's stuck with it with P+ when a bunch of these other top players dropped the game and they all were jumping in on this game saying, oh, what a great time it is. Slippy comes out. I don't see these fuckers anywhere. Where have they been? But
Mm.
Acklo's still there grinding in the trenches of playing against P plus Lucas and other miscellaneous bullshit characters. And that dude's got my vote as a goddamn
All right.
hero.
Well, you just convinced me he's a villain by saying all these things about all these characters in this other game. And also, he's just the fox that every mid-tier player and every like Peach, Puff, like I feel like would struggle the most to beat. Like, so to me, he would be a villain just because all my friends are on the opposite side of Acklo usually.
Jake?
Time. He's the only one doing it. He pulls out the link. He is a hero, and he is revolutionizing FD as we know it.
He is a villain to the heroes, but he's not my villain.
You've still got that low tier heart, and you see him pull out the link, and you go, I might like this guy.
He makes
Dreffin.
me smile. Who?
Dreffin, hero or villain?
Dreffin?
Hero.
That's a hero.
What?
Hero.
That's a
Everybody's
snap call
broke.
hero. Oh, he got the hat. Yo, he's got the hat. Dude,
Dreffin,
no.
Dreffin is a giver of gifts. I don't know if is this exclusive? Have I told this one on here?
I don't know, but
Dreffin just rolling around with Pumpkin Delights.
I'll give you some points for exclusive, but you kind of got ahead of me.
Sorry. Dreffin rolling around with Pumpkin Delights and other pen-shaped mechanisms for what use I cannot decipher in California, giving them out on the squares after he said, this pen-shaped device is just too strong. You fellas got to finish this off for me. I mean, he just comes around and he's like the Tom Bombadil of the Melee community.
That's what I was thinking. But is Tom Bombadil a hero?
Yes.
He does nothing heroic.
He's abstract.
He just
abstract
is.
good. Abstract good, Jackzilla.
He's definitely not a villain, though. That much we can agree on.
Dreffin's the old guy who's been around forever. He's always been grinding his ass off. He's been a top-level melee for all these years, and like when you see him do good still in today's age with all the slippy kid grinders, we don't even have like basement melee grinders anymore. We have slippy kids who are plugged into their computers 24/7. And when Dreffin comes and beats them, hero.
He is
hero.
So nice. Hands down, top to bottom, like whole timeline of me knowing him has not faltered in his mannerisms and spirit and vigor. He is just, hi, Jakespeare, every time I see him and I want to give him a hug. And now he has a kid. He brought his daughter to Riptide. My hero.
My hero. All right, let's move on to our next one. Cody Schwab.
Man,
Cody Schwab.
I'd say Cody's a hero. He is a hero that has had to struggle through not only so much out of the game, but his mental in the game sometimes was just it was quite questionable for a while there. And I think he's finally gotten past the complainer route and straight into the top two Titan hearts and minds of the people.
If you think of the hero's journey, Cody has walked it.
Yeah, you must first fail in order to be considered a hero.
Yeah, like textbook literature, he is a hero for sure.
I think he's a villain.
Ah,
he is a villain. He's this kid who was a rager, who grinded his ass off and got super good, and now he's the one making fun of everybody. He's the one who's like, you're shit, you're so shit, I'm so much better than you. Villain. He is a villain. And you know what? If you watch a stream, if people get the best of him at any point, it all comes out. It all comes out. He is raging. And like, no offense to him or everything, but there was like a time like he was playing Game & Watch and he lost to someone I know who played Pichu, and the whole stream he just started being passive aggressively nice to everybody. It's just like, dude, I can't make that shit up. I wouldn't do that. Like, come on.
You can take the man away from Halo, but you can't take the Halo out of the man.
No.
What about Leffen? Do we agree that he's still on?
I will say you've cut Carroll out of these like twice.
Yeah, let Carroll talk.
I gotta stand up for the.
Real quick, he's muted. Everybody's hero. I'm muted. How?
No, you're not.
Oh, sorry, your audio was on delay.
Who knows? Yeah, but Leffen is a villain, and he's the villain we need because anyone you can think of in the top echelon of Melee, we can paint them as a hero all we want. But Leffen embraces it, and he really like lives up to it. And not only is he a villain to us, he's been a villain to every community he's ever been to. Smash 4, Ultimate, and Guilty Gear, just anything. the courts are talking. They say on the basketball court he's talking shit. So
U.S. immigration.
yeah, U.S. immigration everywhere he goes, and he has a problem with everything, and that's what you want in your villain. One who just can't see the good in anything.
I think one of the like classic villain phrases is "I'll show them," and that's like Leffen's existence. Like whenever, like anything he sets out to do, that in mind, it's to stuff a sock in the criticism, and just when a Guilty Gear Major, go Sheik and beat Zane, beat all the gods, like that's his mantra, and it's not very heroic necessarily. It's more of like a conquering. And that's more villainous for sure.
Okay, final 3 from this list. Zane.
Hero.
Easy.
Yeah,
Smart
I guess he's
players,
a
Spinda, take
hero.
your time.
No, he's
Nice.
not. Not
He's
I
a
love
nice.
Spinda's
Not
art.
the hero.
Everybody's
That Roy-
a fucking villain except
that
for Dreppen.
Roy is horrible. I hate that goddamn Roy. And you may
I think
argue that's
you're-
don't test me. That's don't test me.
Come
That's
on.
not Zane. I hate that shit.
You're
I
a
hate that fucking
buster.
Roy.
What?
I hate that fucking Roy.
He puts on so he can be a villain and not get shit on for it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I
fair.
hear you. Okay. Anybody else? Zane on the fence. It's hard to be a hero when you're winning everything.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the crazy thing that's different, and that is the true sign of greatness for Zane in this time, is that only one other person can really say that they kept the people on their side when they were winning everything. That's Mango. The fact that people are still rooting for Zane loudly and it hasn't become just another sideshow is in part because there's still a chance other people win the tournament over him. But it's still a testament to the fact of how much of a hero that kid is. He's done so much with the game.
Okay. Fiction.
That's a villain. Shep's a complainer. Shep loves to bitch, but God, if he's not one of the funniest people I know.
He's a
That's
good
what's-
man. But
That's
he
what
does.
saves him.
Yeah.
Shepard Lima at Smash Camp is an entity all of his own. You must understand.
I do think All Hail Fiction could be the greatest villain chant in Melee's history.
It's incredible. Said with the same drone as the Ganondorf chant.
Carroll?
Like tendencies come from just like us disappointing him. Like every time he watches someone play or anybody, just like a Falco is just like, are you serious? You know what I mean? You have all these options in this game and you choose to do this. You know what I mean? So yeah, he just is very upset with the world that he sees, and I don't blame him. So yeah, he's a villain.
He's kind of a super
I-
villain.
Yeah,
In that,
he's a villain. He's a
in that,
villain.
like we all kind of agree. That
I
he
enjoy
is.
watching him lose too much for him not to be a villain.
That
The
is
stretch-
homie though.
I wanted
like, for
KJ
real.
to rock his mouth guard out. You know what I mean? In that Smash boxing thing.
Oh,
literally.
we were so blessed in that period of 2018 and 2019 where he, right after making the Ice Climbers guides, proceeds to get the brakes beaten off of him by Bananas at 3 separate tournaments. Let's go Texas.
All right. Final
quick.
hero versus villain question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Kells, King of Chicago, Kelly Smith.
Are we talking about the Facebook account Kel Smith, or are we talking about Kelly Smith, King
Talking
of
about the
I
Chicago?
man.
kneel
Kelly
to my
Smith.
king.
Because Kelly Smith is at times hero, at times villain. Was he villainous when he tore apart SFOP's run at Genesis 6 after camping ledge with Marth, getting up and popping off and saying, "This character's so fucking easy"? Absolutely a villain. But in every other way, what a beautiful hero he was for the great state of Illinois and the beautiful city of Chicago.
One of the best examples of somebody who is a hero in real life and a villain in the game. The Fox was brutal. It did what it took to win, but when you got him outside of the game, he is always laughing, always smiling. One of the most infectious smiles, I think, straight up, that I can remember in the community. So yeah.
I feel like he's kind of heroic, at least now. I know before when he was just beating everybody up all the time, it was like, man, is anyone gonna beat this guy? But yeah, he's a infectious laugh. Like he's fun to be around. I would say hero, and if he came back, I would love to watch his bracket runs.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you think he's a hero or he's a villain, he is absolutely legendary. Like really, not in the hyperbole of the like actual lore. Like tomes will be written, hobbits will sing. Like, he's in Chicago for a very long time. His spirit will endure. I'm talking like he's dead. He's not only alive, he is in such good shape and is just living his best life outside of Melee. And that's my GOAT, man, for real.
Yeah. I do think he's living a heroic life, but I have to side with Stude. In the game, I have watched him. I have played against him. He ruled with an iron fist. He was a tyrant.
Yeah.
And though we loved him for his smile, tyrants are tyrants. Sic semper tyrannis. You know, that dude was kind of cooking who said that. I don't remember what his name was. All right, let's move on
Tommy
to our tiebreaker. Okay.
We have a tiebreak. What's the score?
Actually,
hang on, give me a second.
I'll do one more topic. Are you guys good on time?
Yeah, I got time.
I got one more topic I
What
want to
the fuck? I'm so behind.
With Zane's, I skip around, Jake, if we're running low on time, which we are. With Zane's withdrawal, Riptide was maybe a major, maybe not. We've kind of leaned on definitely. Big House looms, though, even larger as the biggest tournament left in the year to contend for #1 in the world, right? If your goal is to be the best, nobody can question it. The Big House is your target right now. But what does a tournament have to do these days to get that everyone is here energy, a la the Big House or Genesis, where it's clear that attendance is sort of near mandatory for the very best? Is it just a matter of time before new brands like Collision reach that status? Or is there some je ne sais quoi that new tournament organizers need to tap into? How do we make these new events must attend?
I don't know if you can. I'll just say it outright. I feel like there's so much legacy and history wrapped up in tournaments like Big House, like Genesis, even tournaments like Shine, which were far more recent with 2016, kind of saw a recent boost with the fact that this was the last one in 2023. I don't necessarily think that it's impossible. I think that it's just far more difficult. I think you need to somehow pull at least 40%, 30 to 40% of the top 100 for your first tournament, which is pretty difficult depending on location, time frame, and everything else. I think there is a shot for a new summer major that could do that. We have things like Genesis taking up the first part of the year and Big House closing out the last of it. But we kind of saw a smaller summer of Smash than we normally do due to how kind of deflated things have become recently.
You
Yeah.
have consistency. Consistency is #1. You got to run it, and you got to run it well, and you got to run it every year. That's the bar none. You don't get to that level unless you are consistent. You also have to have an identity, which the Big House does. It is the Midwest, baby. And you honestly, and successful people will tell you this, you got to get a little lucky too. You got to have those moments. You got to have those times where like, oh, this person beat this person in this grand fashion, and like you can't control that. You hope it happens at your tournament, and you hope the commentators weave the narrative just so, and you have that juicy soundbite that we're all looking for. But yeah, no, you just got to be consistent and have an identity, and you got to be a little lucky. I mean, honestly, don't discredit it.
Downsize, pack the place, like pump your marketing, get the place full, get the huge crowd, put that extra money into getting top players out there. Like, you don't need a gigantic empty concrete hall to make a beautiful Melee tournament, both for the spectators and for stream. Like, I think we need to allocate money into something other than a big cavern to put our shit in. That's the hardest part, I understand, but if you have to downsize in order to like maximize the experience, I think that is absolutely the logical first step that a lot of these tournaments will take.
Yeah, I mean, shit, Beast 5 was in a church, and that's one of the most memorable tournaments of all time.
Churches are often free.
There you go.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I do think it is incredibly hard right now due to how few people seem to be going to majors these days. Like, you have to be in the right place at the right time. You have to be in the right region. Like, the first Riptide was only just shy of, 1,000 Melee entrants because it was the event right after COVID. And then after everyone went to the first one, they wanted to keep going. So I think it'll be interesting to see how an event like Collision plays out because they've announced it pretty early and they're coming back next year. But it almost feels like you have to have had the history in the community, like with Full Bloom coming back. You had to have had the history and you're starting it back up again and you're inviting the top players in your region to come because we see a lot of top 100 players just in random states now because of Slippy. I almost feel like it's a little bit random, and we're just gonna have to wait and see. I don't have a ton of faith that we will ever have events that live up to the scale that like Evo did, that Big House does, that Genesis does, just because there's not enough good factors in our corner right now, especially with like lack of esports interest and sponsorships right now with all that stuff going under. It's gonna be really difficult. It's possible, but you have to get lucky and be right time, right place.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I think, Carroll, that's kind of the mentality that the team had when we were trying to grow Full Bloom, is you just got to keep putting on a good tournament every single year. Just keep doing it, and then beg the top players to come, and eventually you'll get lucky, and if you run a good tournament, you might be able to get a famous one in 8 years. All right, let's move on to our final topic, or rather not final topic, the tiebreaker. The rules on this show, of course, are that everybody participates in the tiebreaker because while your lead may be helpful in helping me decide if you've won or not, I am fully ready to throw it all away if your tiebreaker answer is just absolutely garbage. So nobody is out of the game at this time. You are all close enough to win. The tiebreaker this week. What should we name the Fourside Regional Tournament upcoming 2024? I will give you all the time you need if you would like to simply think.
Easy shill in for the Yard Boys if y'all name it the Squares, honestly. Easy shill in for the Australians. You got 2 tight links in right there. If y'all run in with the Squares, I think that one could go somewhere. It's got 4 sides. You do some fighting in it. It's not a bad look. Other than that, it's pretty difficult to tie in this without sounding something lame like Fourside Fighters, which I'm sure one of my competitors has thought of.
That would be lame,
What
yes.
you've been working with. You already built up the name. Everyone knows Fourside Fights. You just do Fourside Fights live. You do a live episode with the goats up there, and then you just have this major tournament and live in capital letters.
It's live.
Make sure like
Just
on
live.
stage.
Didn't y'all do that at Genesis?
We did call it that, but that is a good name for a tournament, I will admit. But I will...
Gotta
I will
roll
tip
with the
my
name.
hand
Gotta be
that I
consistent.
kinda like
Too
that.
damn live.
You built it
Live.
up.
Just live, all caps. Okay. Anybody else?
I think you should really angle into the Earthbound slant to it and just call it Poo.
Who?
Poo. You could put an exclamation point.
Risk.
You could put an exclamation point at the end if you want.
Who?
Oh shit! I got nothing.
not
I'm not
shit.
creative
Who?
enough.
It's a slam dunk, Jack.
Who?
I would literally just call it Fourside Fights, like the tournament. Like I don't feel like there's a better thing to call it. Like you've already got the brand.
Call the tournament Fourside Fights. That might be
Fourside Fights.
confusing with the show. We'll have
I
to
don't
do our...
think so.
I do kind of like that, though. That being said, I have to give it to PJH Carroll, the point leader, also with the best suggestion for the name of the tournament. You are the winner of Fourside Fights this week. Now we're going to get our free-for-all started. Everybody, please hold on. Wait with us while we get the game set up so that PJH Carroll can commentate as our victor. Please stay with us as I'm studying.
It's only been a week and I'm still losing.
Gotta say, taking down the commentator rookie of the year, the commentator's favorite commentator, and the boss. You know what I mean? The boss of all those commentators, Jakespeare. It's an honor, it's a privilege. I am humble as my mentor, Brandon, who I work with. Just keep it a buck. It's been a good week for me, winning everything I touch. Got to keep it going. Honestly, and on a more sentimental note, the biggest win of my entire week was my 6-year-old son yesterday read out loud an entire book. He read, what is it, the Dr. Seuss book, Are You My Mother, if you're familiar with that one. He read the entire thing, like, you know, it's only like a sentence or two a page, but that's like 60 pages, read the whole thing without a single error. Oh, I could cry. But hell yeah, is anyone else talking? Is it just me? This is my time.
You can invite them in, but it is your stage.
Oh, everybody get in here! Come on, it's
All right, I'll mute.
ain't no fun unless the homies get some.
Mm.
A great man once said.
Oh God, get me out of here.
Oh man, love me some good Force. See, this is what the off season needs. You're gonna tell me this doesn't count for rankings?
Yeah, you were saying they should bring us in. I was like, they should have, but they did not, and I am not good at emailing people up front usually.
I also think that you know how often we look forward to April Fools. I like take the day off every year just to play on the wacky stages as much as I can. I think
That's
they should do
awesome.
that. I think they should do that more often. Like once a month, just pick a day where it's just like, you know, we'll just have something that brings us all together and gives us a reason to just like log on and do something a little kooky or fun, you know?
Dude is being a little silly.
All right. Simon says everybody on the UFO right now.
Oh, amen, brother.
Oh, he cheated.
Oh man, it's the best part.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jack Jello, who is the best that you've seen on this part of on Fourside? Who's the best you've
Me.
seen on Fourside? Yeah.
No. I think there was one episode where Cody really cooked. The live at Genesis one was awesome. Slime versus Hug and Cody is one of the most satisfying.
Whoa, shit.
I think there's one where Spark was fighting like Blur or something, and there was a class uprising.
Nowhere to go.
There are a couple solid ones.
Bet you
I don't
all have
remember
a
being
really
so
good-
impressed by somebody that like it's lodged in my noggin though. They mostly suck.
Yeah. There's like a couple of things that people aren't used to like dealing with is just like the way that you can hit a wall and you're like slightly invincible for a little bit, even if you don't tech. It's like wall
Oh,
bounce.
Not PMs, dude.
It's not
Not
PM.
PM.
I've been
What the
playing
heck?
way too much PM. It's true. You should too. ProjectPlusGame.com.
All right, thank you all for
Don't
being
ever
here.
call me a commentator again.
Don't ever call her a commentator again.
Body.
Spinda,
See
I'm not a
me on a real
commentator.
stage, Spinda.
Thank you all for
okay,
being here.
okay.
Congratulations to PGH for winning. Congratulations to Spinda, the greatest on the sticks of the four, by far. See you in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody.
Ember.